What targeting means. What does that mean?
So she is taking on harder fouls and at a higher rate than any of her peers. So it turns out that in her rookie season, she absorbed 17% of all flagrant fouls or hard fouls, more than double the rate of any of her peers. This is not something that you would see occur to any other top star in any other league. And I think a lot of fans are scratching their heads of why the league is allowing this to continue, especially given the economic impact that she's having on the league, which they've so desired for decades.
An attorney's comments have suddenly pushed one of the WNBA's biggest storylines beyond basketball. During a recent interview, Sean M. Lawn argued that Caitlin Clark's treatment on the court raises concerns that extend into workplace rights, suggesting the situation could resemble what employment law describes as a hostile work environment. That statement has fueled debate across sports media because it reframes a conversation that had largely focused on hard fouls and physical play. It's important to note, however, that this is the attorney's legal opinion, not a court ruling or a finding that any law has been violated. The argument didn't emerge in isolation. It was built around a statistic the attorney highlighted during the interview. He claimed that Clark absorbed 17% of all flagrant or hard fouls during her rookie season, a figure he described as far higher than that of her peers. He argued that such a pattern is unusual for one of the league's biggest stars and questioned why many fans believe stronger action has not been taken. Whether viewers ultimately agree with that interpretation or not, the statistic has become a focal point of the discussion because it shifts attention from isolated incidents to the possibility of a broader pattern. That distinction is what makes this conversation different from the countless debates that follow nearly every professional game. Every league deals with controversial calls, physical defense, and disagreements over officiating. What has captured attention here is the suggestion that repeated on-court contact, if viewed as part of a larger pattern, could raise questions that extend beyond basketball strategy and into how a professional sports league fulfills its responsibility to provide a safe workplace for its athletes. The attorney's comments don't establish that such a legal standard has been met, but they do explain why the issue has attracted so much attention. That leaves the central question driving the rest of the discussion. Are fans simply witnessing the kind of physical competition that naturally comes with professional basketball, or do the incidents surrounding Caitlin Clark point to something that deserves closer scrutiny? Answering that requires looking beyond individual plays and examining why this debate has grown into one of the most closely watched stories surrounding the WNBA. Part of the reason this discussion has expanded so quickly is that Caitlin Clark's impact has been measured in more than points and assists. In the interview, Sean M. Lawn pointed to several indicators that he says demonstrate her influence on the league, including reported increases in merchandise sales, app engagement, league pass subscriptions, and the estimated value of the Indiana Fever. Those figures are presented as evidence that Clark has become one of the WNBA's most commercially significant players in a remarkably short period of time. Whether every estimate is interpreted the same way by analysts, the broader point is clear: her arrival has coincided with increased attention to the league from fans, media outlets, and sponsors. That commercial impact changes how many people view the conversation. Professional sports leagues invest heavily in promoting star players because recognizable athletes often help attract television audiences, sell tickets, increase merchandise revenue, and generate broader media interest. For that reason, some commentators argue that leagues have both a competitive and business incentive to ensure that all players, especially their most visible stars, are protected through consistent officiating and enforcement of existing rules. Others respond that no player should receive special treatment simply because of popularity, emphasizing that physical competition is part of professional basketball and that officials should apply the rules equally regardless of a player's profile. Those competing perspectives have become central to the public debate. As that debate has grown, the focus has shifted well beyond individual possessions or controversial calls. Headlines increasingly examine what Clark's popularity means for the future of the WNBA, while television panels and online discussions ask whether the league's current approach is striking the right balance between allowing physical play and protecting player safety. The conversation is no longer just about one game or one foul. It has become a broader discussion about leadership, officiating, public perception, and how a rapidly growing league manages the expectations that come with unprecedented attention. That evolution explains why a sports story has developed into a national talking point, and it naturally leads to the next question: what, exactly, is the legal argument being made, and how does the attorney connect it to workplace protections? To understand why this story has moved beyond sports pages, it's important to look at the person making the argument. Sean M. Lon is an attorney and the founder of Origin Advocacy, a Washington, D.C. based consulting and lobbying firm. During the interview, he explained that he previously worked in government, including positions with Senator Marsha Blackburn, Senator Ted Cruz, and the Trump administration. He cited that background to frame his perspective before outlining why he believes Caitlin Clark's situation deserves closer attention. Regardless of whether viewers agree with his conclusions, his comments have attracted interest because they come from someone discussing the issue through the lens of employment law rather than basketball strategy. The centerpiece of Lon's argument is the concept of a hostile work environment. In general, that term refers to a workplace where unlawful discrimination or harassment is so severe or pervasive that it affects an employee's ability to perform their job. Applying that legal framework to professional sports is far more complex than simply pointing to hard fouls during games. Physical contact is an expected part of basketball, and leagues have rules, officials, and disciplinary procedures designed to manage that reality. Lon's point is that if a player were subjected to materially different treatment for unlawful reasons, the discussion could extend beyond officiating and into employment law. That is his legal interpretation, not a determination made by a court or government agency. This is where Title VII of the Civil Rights Act enters the conversation. The transcript explains that Title VII prohibits employment discrimination based on protected characteristics such as race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, and notes that professional sports organizations are employers subject to employment laws. Lon argues that if a league knowingly permitted discriminatory treatment connected to a protected characteristic, legal questions could arise. However, whether those legal standards are met would depend on evidence, specific facts, and any formal investigation or court proceeding, not on commentary alone. That distinction is critical because it separates legal analysis from legal conclusions. At this stage, there has been no court ruling finding that the WNBA violated Title VII or that Caitlin Clark's rights have been infringed. Instead, the public discussion centers on an attorney's interpretation of publicly observed events and whether those concerns warrant closer examination. As that legal perspective has entered the national conversation, it has prompted a new question that extends well beyond the courtroom. How are fans, players, and commentators responding to an issue that now sits at the intersection of sports, public perception, and broader cultural debate? As the conversation has grown, so has the divide in public opinion. One group believes Caitlin Clark has been subjected to an unusual level of physical play and argues that the pattern deserves closer scrutiny. Supporters of that view often point to the statistics discussed by Sean M. Lon, along with widely shared game clips showing hard contact, as reasons to question whether officials have enforced the rules consistently. They argue that protecting players does not require giving anyone special treatment, it simply requires applying the rulebook evenly, regardless of who is involved. Others see the situation very differently. They argue that physical defense has always been part of professional basketball and that star players often attract more attention from opposing teams. From this perspective, many of the plays being debated fall within the normal range of competitive sports, even if they appear dramatic in slow-motion replays or short social media clips. They caution against drawing sweeping conclusions from isolated moments and emphasize that basketball remains a fast, physical game in which difficult officiating decisions are inevitable. That viewpoint does not necessarily dismiss concerns about player safety, but it questions whether the current debate has gone beyond what the available evidence supports. The discussion became even more complicated when questions about race and media attention entered the conversation. The transcript references comments from Aya Wilson, who argued that race plays a role in the attention Clark has received, while the attorney suggested that resentment over Clark's rapid rise may be contributing to the broader controversy. These statements have fueled extensive discussion across sports media, with some commentators focusing on how media coverage shapes public perception, while others argue that attention should remain on officiating and player safety rather than broader cultural issues. The existence of these competing explanations has made it increasingly difficult to separate discussions about basketball from conversations about race, visibility, and representation. That complexity is reflected in public reaction. According to the transcript, some fans believe the league should do more to protect Clark, while others argue that the criticism is overstated and that the physical style of play is being unfairly portrayed as something unusual. Still others are following the story less for the basketball itself and more because it has evolved into a broader public debate involving sports, law, and culture. With opinions becoming more polarized, attention naturally shifts to the next question: if the controversy continues to grow, what could it mean for the league in the months ahead? Whether this controversy grows or gradually fades will depend largely on how the league responds in the weeks and months ahead. At this point, the attorney's comments remain exactly that, legal opinions offered during a public discussion, not findings by a court or conclusions reached through a formal investigation. Still, once a legal theory enters a high-profile sports story, it often changes the nature of the conversation. Instead of focusing only on game footage and officiating decisions, media coverage begins examining league policies, public statements, and whether leadership has adequately addressed the concerns being raised. The transcript also raises the possibility of future legal developments, including the potential for a formal complaint or additional government attention. These scenarios are presented as possibilities rather than established outcomes. There is currently no indication in the source that such proceedings have begun. However, the attorney argues that if concerns about player treatment were ever supported by sufficient evidence and pursued through legal channels, the discussion could extend well beyond sports commentary. Whether that ever occurs would depend on future events, available evidence, and decisions made by the relevant parties, not on public debate alone. Beyond the legal questions, commentators have also focused on the league's public image. The transcript suggests that prolonged controversy could invite additional media scrutiny, especially if questions about player safety remain unresolved. Professional sports organizations rely on public trust, broadcast partnerships, and commercial relationships, so recurring headlines can influence how fans, sponsors, and media outlets view the league. That does not mean reputational harm is inevitable, but it helps explain why stories like this often receive attention far beyond the games themselves. For now, the biggest uncertainty is not what has already happened but what comes next. Will league officials address the concerns publicly, adjust officiating emphasis if necessary, or allow the debate to continue without significant changes? No one can answer that with certainty today. What is clear is that the discussion has moved beyond a series of disputed plays and into a broader conversation about player safety, leadership, and public confidence. Until those questions are addressed, or the controversy naturally subsides, the story is likely to remain part of the larger conversation surrounding the WNBA. As the discussion comes full circle, it returns to the question that first brought national attention to this story: why did an attorney believe Caitlin Clark's situation deserved to be viewed through the lens of employment law rather than simply basketball? That legal opinion has undoubtedly changed the conversation, but it is important to distinguish between what has been confirmed and what remains a matter of interpretation. Confirmed facts include the public statements made during the interview, the statistics cited by the attorney, and the ongoing public debate. The broader legal conclusions, however, remain arguments, not findings established by a court or government agency. That distinction matters because legal outcomes are determined through evidence, investigations, and formal legal proceedings rather than public opinion or television interviews. Even if commentators, fans, or attorneys believe a situation raises important questions, any conclusion about whether laws have been violated would require a careful examination of the facts under the appropriate legal standards. Until that happens, the debate remains one of interpretation rather than legal certainty. Recognizing that difference allows viewers to evaluate the discussion without confusing strong opinions with established conclusions. At the same time, the controversy has highlighted a broader issue that extends beyond any single player. Every professional sports league faces the challenge of balancing competitive, physical play with the responsibility to protect athletes and maintain confidence in its officiating. Those goals are not necessarily in conflict, but achieving both consistently is one of the most difficult tasks league leadership faces. How officials enforce the rules, how the league communicates with players and fans, and how concerns are addressed all contribute to public trust over the long term. That may ultimately become the lasting story. Regardless of where viewers stand on the current debate, the questions surrounding player safety, fairness, and league accountability are unlikely to disappear overnight. As new games are played and new decisions are made, attention will inevitably turn to how the WNBA responds, not simply to one controversial storyline, but to the broader expectations that come with leading a rapidly growing professional league. Whether those responses quiet the debate or keep it in the headlines remains an open question, and that answer will likely shape the next chapter of this conversation.